I first learned chakra meditation and Kundalinī Kriyās, which are meditations that activate Kundalini, decades ago in 1974 and 1975 at the Bihar School of Yoga. After graduating from medicine at the end of 1976, I returned to live in India with Swami Satyananda and remained there until the end of 1985. Kundalinī Kriyās are powerful yoga tantra meditations that had long been kept secret. However, Swami Satyananda had made them available in print and was teaching them to the public. So I went to India to study the Kriyas while I was a medical student. Then when I returned home, I would wake at 3 or 4 in the morning to meditate for 4 hours prior to attending my studies at Sydney University. Practicing and also teaching the Kundalinī Kriyās while I was in India enabled me to experience the chakras and the channels connecting them, which are called nadis, as powerful vortices and currents of living vital energy within the physical and the psychic bodies, which are called sheaths or koshas. As a result, I learned that meditation on the chakras and their connecting channels forms the basis for an esoteric science aimed at the total transformation of body, mind, and consciousness. I also found that my study of the chakras and their associated meditations allowed me to go deeper into more advanced yoga tantra meditation. And so these are amazing practices that can reveal many of the mysteries of the body and mind and life, and they continue to inform my spiritual practice and my medical psychotherapy practice today. The thing to remember is that the chakra meditations are powerfully transformative when they're learned and practiced properly according to your individual needs, according to your nature and circumstances. That is, it's according to your karma. And they're extremely beneficial for physical, psychological, and spiritual health. During the years living in the ashram with my guru, I was privileged to learn yoga therapy and apply this to the thousands of patients who came to the ashram seeking better health. Having graduated from medical school, I also had the opportunity to write several books on yoga therapy under my guru's guidance, and these are still in print. It's while I was writing these books that I had several powerful experiences of direct transmission from my guru. Swami Satyananda had instructed me verbally to write books on various medical and yoga therapy topics, along with editing many of the early books from the Bihar School of Yoga. Now, it was while I was writing the books that I would often fall into a trance and feel a kind of dissociation. I felt knowledge streaming into my brain like a current or a flow of understanding that I could translate into words in my mind and then transmit onto paper. But it was like I could see my pen writing the words on the paper, but it was as if I was reading them for the first time as I wrote them. And I believe that this was a direct transmission of consciousness via the third eye chakra, which is the Guru chakra, where the instructions of the Guru are heard. Now, one of the books I had the great blessing to be part of was Swami Satyananda's masterpiece, Kundalinī Tantra, which collated his experience of the chakras and Kundalini. I was part of a team that edited his transcripts and took oral instructions from him on what he wanted to communicate regarding his direct experiences, plus his own extensive studies of tantric texts. I was invited to write a section on medical and scientific research into the physical and psychological effects of chakra and Kundalini yoga techniques. So, living in the ashram and training to become a Swami was amazing, but it was also very difficult. We lived in extremely austere conditions as part of our training to become a Swami, which is a master of oneself. We'd given away all our belongings to join the ashram. We only had 2 pieces of cloth and a few personal items. And we had to adjust to the extremes of climate, from the intense heat of summer to the extreme humidity of monsoons and the relative cold of winter. We woke early and we were exposed to the elements. We had cold water in the winter and we had hot water in summer because the water supply was exposed to the elements and the intense heat of the Indian summer sun. And all this hardship tested my mind and resolve. When everything was stripped away from me, could I use meditation to maintain equanimity and build inner strength? Could I access the inner powers contained within the chakras to maintain physical, mental, and emotional equilibrium? And of course, many times I fell and I couldn't, but I just had to get up again. And most important was, could I maintain a connection to the Guru via the third eye to access the understanding of the purpose of our austerity and to intuit creative ways to cope and adapt? As I progressed through my training, I found that I had relied on the externals of life throughout my whole life rather than what was inside me. And what was hidden and previously beyond my awareness lay within each chakra. Many times I fell into despair and thought of leaving. However, as I journeyed further within, I found greater strength and resolve, and each time I fell, I rose up and a new door opened within me. And it was then that I had a very powerful inner awakening. At one stage, I developed severe digestive problems. I had diarrhea for more than 12 months, along with stomach pain and psychological issues that I had found very difficult to manage. And no cause was found medically, and I tried various treatments, but none of them worked. And I now feel that these were intense purification experiences resulting from the activation of my chakras, and that this was a natural reaction to living in the highly charged environment of an ashram under the guidance of an enlightened master. The experience was so intense that at one point I felt I simply couldn't cope anymore and I had to get out. I had to leave and go back to Australia. I went to see Swami Satyananda. I was angry and frustrated and in pain, and although my mind had been in a fog for some time, I'd prepared exactly what I was going to say to him, and I was determined to return to Australia. So I knocked on his door and he said to me, "Come on in." I sat down and he said, "Well, what do you want?" At that moment, I felt a powerful, beautiful, warm glow spreading through my belly. All the pain in my belly disappeared, and there was this just open, light, spacious feeling in my mind. It was total bliss. "What do you want?" he said again. And all I could do was smile and say, "Nothing, Swamiji," and I left. And my mind was completely empty and silent and peaceful. All the pain had gone from my body, and the shock of that transformation was amazing. However, as I walked out the door, the pain came back. The fog started to descend once more, but I'd had an experience that informed me of the possibilities that might lie ahead if I stayed. I realized the training was purifying my body, mind, and spirit from previous karmas, and I sensed that Swami Satyananda had given me a glimpse of what might lie beyond the pain, what might be possible if I made a deeper commitment to this inner study. So inspired, I stayed and went deeper into the texts and practiced meditations and learned a body of techniques that allowed me to access my own experiences and to be more fully understanding of what the chakras are and the roles they play in supporting consciousness. And I have been able to use that experience to help thousands of my students and patients suffering both physically and psychologically to access their own capacity for healing and growth. The process involves supporting people to turn and look within, to cognize the great power that lies within all of us, and then using willpower and common sense to meditate in a way that develops this inner power and to form a resilient core with which to face the slaps and blows of life. Ganapataye Namaha Om